Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking to some of my favourite people and some of the world's biggest stars and interesting people. A man for you today who's going on the road. He's Britain's greatest food critic, certainly best known. He appears on The One Show, and his book, A Night of Food and Agony and My Dining Hell, is available now, and he joins us on the phone to talk to us about his new tour. Jay Rayner, how are you?
I'm very well indeed. With a build-up like that, I hope I can satisfy you.
Why aren't you morbidly obese? I mean, you spend your day eating, and you look pretty trim, really.
I don't do badly. I mean, the basic answer is that because I do turn up on television, perhaps less on The One Show now, but more on MasterChef and things like that, I have to look at myself all the time, and I don't want to have to do that from behind a cushion. So I have a pronounced gym habit. I'm in the gym about 4 or 5 times a week, is the honest answer. And I don't always steer clear of them, but I avoid the carbs.
Yeah.
So that's the answer.
I've got the same issue. I was born to be 75,000 stone, and when I go in these restaurants, the first thing that I love is the food basket, is the bread basket, but that's the first thing that has to go, because that's the worst, isn't it?
It is certainly the easiest way to being the size of a house. So if I can keep myself to the size of a small bungalow through avoiding, the carbs every now and then and just keeping in the gym, then things are all right. Let's put it that way.
I love food and I admire what you do. I love a great restaurant. I don't know anything about it compared to you, but it is interesting, isn't it, how knowing nothing, you can walk in a place and one place feels great and another just doesn't before you've even been served anything.
Yeah, well, the main point I always make is I'm not a food critic, although I do know my stuff. When I'm writing my reviews in the Observer, I'm a restaurant critic, which means I'm reviewing how much pleasure your money will buy you, and it's about absolutely everything. And I actually think in that regard, we're all experts. We know whether we've had a good time or not. And the main thing is, I should also say, it's a writing job, not an eating job. There are a lot of people who could eat the things that I eat. The question is, could they then write their 1,100 words to express what that experience is in a way that doesn't have you rolling your eyes or wanting to turn over and read the next whatever's on the next page?
I asked this question to Gordon Ramsay once about the quality of food in England generally, and it seems to me there is a huge divide between the greatness of the best restaurants and the average crap that you get served in pubs. There is a big divide, isn't there?
It's a very mixed story, actually. On the one hand, yes, we have some fantastic restaurants in this country. London has pulled away from the rest of the country in a way which I don't think is necessarily healthy. But it's now to be compared to cities like Paris and Tokyo. But there's an awful lot going on all over the country. But you're right, we shouldn't be complacent about it. You can still eat a truly appalling meal that's come out of some backpacked bag that's come out of a food service truck only half an hour before, and all they've done is heated it up in a water bath or whatever. There's still a lot of rubbish, but I'm an eternal optimist. There's also good stuff going on.
And I guess we can't all be eating Michelin food 7 days a week. I mean, these restaurants are for treats.
I've done that, actually. For a book, a few books back, a couple of books back, I went to Paris and attempted to do the high-end Super Size Me. I don't know if you remember Super Size Me, the story of the guy who ate McDonald's every day for a month. So I went to Paris and ate in a Michelin 3-star every day for 7 days. It was awful.
Were you foie gras out, were you?
I really was. I was like a gavaged goose. I felt terrible at the end of it. I really did. I just sort of wanted to see what it would be like. It wasn't a lot of fun.
No, I feel we're pretty lucky here in Nottingham. We've got Sat Baines that's just done very well. How do you think that restaurant fares compared to the rest of England and the world?
There's a grand question. Well, I was going to say I'm biased because Sat's a bit of a mate, but he is a bit of a mate now because I admire his food.
Yeah.
He's a very, very clever, inventive cook, a very, very nice man as well. And I do think his restaurant really is, it's right up there with the very best in this country. And the very best in this country can take on the world. He's an immensely gifted cook. But he's also a very generous one. If you ever spend any time in his kitchen, you'll notice that he's taking ideas and sharing ideas with the entirety of his staff.
Yeah.
And it's a very democratic environment. If it doesn't work, it won't go on the table. But he's open to it's not like he's, I am the great I am. He believes in a collegiate approach to the business of showing people a very good time.
And I love the fact he's stayed here. It would be so easy for him to move to London and make a fortune, but he remains in that sort of crappy estate just off the A52, and there he'll remain.
It isn't the sexiest place in the world. world to have a restaurant. I talked to them recently because they've shortened the number of services they're doing. And the reason they did it was because there's a shortage of really, really good cooks in Britain at the moment. And they wanted to create as good a working environment as they possibly could to attract the best people. And I think I was talking to his other half who said, look, we don't have expensive tastes. We've got all the money we need. You know, we get a holiday a year. We get to run our lovely restaurant. And if this makes it better, then that's why we'll do it. And I thought that was very admirable indeed.
Yeah, it's interesting. Do you still get a thrill when you go somewhere for the first time and it's so different? I remember the first time I went to Joel Robuchon, I just thought it was the most incredible atmosphere, L'Atelier I'm talking about, and it was so different. That's rare, isn't it, when you walk in somewhere and it just blows your mind?
I think I'm a little bit beyond the mind-blowing stage these
really?
days.
There's nothing new.
Well, you know, I'm an old lag. We've been doing this for 15 years. But I still get an absolute thrill if I go somewhere and the food is great and the price is fair, and I know that this review is going to make a difference to their business and it's going to make people sit up. I still find that very, very exciting.
The other side to that, though, is if you go in and the food is average and the service is appalling and the atmosphere is dull, you could technically close them down. How do you live with that?
Well, there are a number of things to say. Actually, the food is mediocre is what I really fear.
Right.
Mediocre experiences, those ones that sit in the middle and they're neither terrible or brilliant, those are terrifying to write about, I have to admit.
Yeah.
The negative reviews are only about a fifth of what I ever do. And I mean, I don't do it on a number count, but it turns out each year perhaps 9 or 10 of my 50 or so reviews are very negative. I generally do not cut up rough on a small mum-and-pop operation. Those are not the ones that make me cross. The ones that make me cross are the really, really big-ticket, corporate, multi-million-pound ventures where they think they are the bee's knees. They're charging, I don't know, 15, 18 pounds a starter and 25 pounds a main course. It's going to hit you for 100 quid a head, and it really doesn't deliver. That's what makes me furious, and that's where I am more likely to tell it like it is.
Last year, I went to Miami for my birthday in January, and I went to Ocean Prime, which is meant to be one of their best steak restaurants. And this thing came, and it was still mooing at me. It was disgusting. I couldn't cut through it. And I said to the manager, I'm sorry, this is not good enough. And he said, oh, yes, we're struggling at the moment because it's convention season, and we're very busy in the kitchen. And I thought, well, that's not really an excuse, is it? And when I said, could you replace it, he sent the old one back and said, have that for your breakfast. And I thought, this is a strange way to handle customers.
Yeah, I mean, actually, you know, a terrible experience and things go wrong can be turned around by the way they manage it.
Yeah.
You know, I remember one review, I can't remember, well, I don't remember, I'm trying to dig my brain which one it was, but a place where something terrible happened with the food, and they managed it so well that it turned into a good review, because, you know, if you can manage a bad experience well, then hurrah, we're all winners. How
do you know you're right?
That's an interesting question. You have to know the rules of journalism. I'm still a reporter. I don't know if you know, but I used to cover murders. I used to be in court and all of that sort of stuff. There is always still a notebook in my back pocket. So you apply the basic tenets of journalism to what you're doing. Is what you're saying true? Can you back it up by your experience? Is it fair comment? As to, you know, when it comes to the subjective stuff, which is actually far smaller element than people think. You know, a plate of food arrives and you can immediately see whether they've got certain things right or wrong. In a way, it's up to the readers to decide whether I'm right or wrong. If they find what I'm saying compelling or authoritative. Right. If they don't believe me, then I'm failing. And as I say, this is a writing job, so my job is to make you believe me. And if you don't believe me, if you look at it and go, well, that's just somebody's opinion, then I haven't done a very good job. It has to be done in a way that is convincing.
Is it humbling when you walk through the door, and let's face it, everybody's going to know it's you? You're not one of the kind of people who can just sneak in, that they sort of look a bit terrified? Because I know Winner had that as well, didn't he? When he walked through the door, but bums would sort of start clenching.
Yeah, well, that may just have been about Michael, who I did actually think was a rather lovely man, but he had his own particular way of taking on the world.
Yes, he did.
But if they're any good, they're not going to go through that at all.
Right.
If the restaurant's any good, I'm not going to notice any of that. And I am just there for dinner. And it's true, I book under a pseudonym. They don't know I'm coming. So the first thing they know is when you know, that big hairy bloke turns up at the door with claiming he's got a table booked under a ludicrous pseudonym.
What do you do? Sort of Dan Gleeballs or Seymour Cleavage? What kind of names do you come up with?
So it just sounds like I've had an insight into the inside of your head. For a while, I used to use... I write novels as well, and I used to use the names of some of my fictional characters because I rather liked the notion of them emerging out of the fictional environment. One of them was a fictional restaurant critic, and this fictional restaurant critic had gone to more restaurants than I had under my own name, which I thought was hilarious.
That's brilliant. And do you enjoy the fact that you are welcomed in these places? And I always think that chefs are a bit like theatre people. They're just big show-offs. I know they work incredibly hard, but they are big sort of show-offs that want to just be celebrated. And I'm sure when they know you're in, they go to an extra level to prove that they can do what they believe they do well.
Well, I'm always in two minds. I mean, one of the things I would say is that if it was as simple as that, then I would never have a bad experience, would I?
Right.
And I certainly wouldn't have enough bad experiences to be able to put a show on, as I'm about to do, you know, in Nottingham. So yeah, but you know, anybody who works very hard in any sort of business is going to want some kind of approval. It's like, you know, being able to get awards for being a restaurant critic, which you can, and which I have. I think it's hilarious that not only do I get paid to go out for dinner and write smart-ass things about it, I can get awards for it. Isn't that fantastic? But there's no reason, you know, we know that the award world is a big thing, and I suppose I'm part of that, and that's totally understandable. If you work hard, we all want approval.
Yeah. And I listen to how eloquent you are and how funny you are and how acerbic and witty you can be. We've got to look at Mum for that, haven't we? Because she was a true character, and Claire...
I'm not letting her take the credit for my wit.
I mean, what a blessing to have her in your life.
Yeah, well, there'll be some of your readers who either won't know that my mother was Claire Rayner, or actually, to be honest, and this might surprise you, or know who she was, because, you know, she died 5 years ago, and she'd slightly sort of retired about 10 years before that. But in her time, obviously, she was the biggest name agni aunt in the country, and a source of great wit and wisdom.
Yeah.
What she gave me was an absolute sense that there were endless possibilities. She'd come from a very deprived childhood and made an enormous impact on the world. And, you know, I came from exactly the opposite, frankly. She created a very affluent background for me, and I had every privilege that money could buy. And her main kind of imperative to me was, don't waste it. Don't squander whatever meagre talents you might have. Get out there and use them. And I hope I've done that.
Talking of meagre talents, what's this about you being a pianist?
I have played piano for a very, very long time. I played at piano for 35 years, mostly badly, it has to be said. But then, and I've always loved jazz. But a few years ago, I was invited to start playing with a few real jazz musicians, and it was the most terrifying thing. It was in a members club in London, one of those slightly poncy members clubs. But it was the most terrifying and the most exciting thing that I'd ever done. And it turns out a lot of jazz musicians are quite foodie because they're always interested in their own dinner when they're out gigging. And a lot of them read me. And so they were willing, despite my meagre skills, to play with me. And so in those 5 or 6 years, I've had the best jazz piano lessons anybody could possibly have. And now I'm not mediocre. My line normally is, you know, of all the... I'm the best jazz pianist in Britain of all the people who review restaurants. I'm certainly better at jazz piano than Giles Corran or Faye Maxwell. But what we do is we do a selection of songs which are food and drink related. So One for My Baby, Black Coffee, Kamloops Island. But also I do some which are related to the fact that my mother was an agni aunt.
Right.
There's a lot of great stories to tell, mostly filthy. I think we have an age advisory on this show. But it's about the stories and great music. So in the Nottingham show, in the first half, I do a show which is called My Dining Hell, which is about my journey through terrible restaurant experiences. I use PowerPoint as a second performer. So that's the first half. And then the second half, I come back with the quartet, and it's music all the way.
Fantastic. Well, I can't wait to see it. The tour is hitting the road from February 23rd. A Night of Food in Agony and My Dining Hell, as you just mentioned, is coming to Kingston upon Thames on the 23rd of February, through St Albans, Liverpool, Nottingham, Hereford, and across the UK. This must be brilliant for you to sort of reach a live audience, because you must spend a lot of time just in darkened rooms writing, and to have a couple of 300 people in front of you every night selling out, that's not bad, is it?
I do like the live performance bit. So sometimes I just do My Dining Hell standalone, and then we, do the performance bit the first half, and then question answer in the second, and that's just me on the stage, and it's a lot of fun. It's an awful lot of fun. You're right. I am a writer first and foremost. I'm talking to you now from my desk with my computer and a screen up, and 800 words gone this morning. But no, I like getting out there and meeting people, and talking to them about this stuff. It's great.
On the review world, finally, is it all going online? I mean, The Observer is a legendary paper that is respected and all of that, but it does seem to me that people now Google before they probably buy a newspaper, and once they bought a newspaper, it'll end up in the bin within 24 hours. Where is your game going?
You have to hang on a second, Alex. I'm going to cough.
Don't worry.
I managed to hold it until you finished your question.
Did that question upset you?
No. Sorry, right.
Are you okay? Don't worry.
Give me a second. Right. It's an interesting question. There is clearly a big churn going on in the newspaper industry. I think the printed edition will still have a place. We still sell, The Observer, a couple of 100,000 copies every Sunday, and that's not to be sniffed at. But yes, you're right. Online is a very, very big thing. We have a lot of analytical tools to see how many people are reading my columns, my reviews, and it's significant numbers. I had one review of a restaurant called Beast, which went slightly viral, and that had over 500,000 page views, which is a significant number.
Yeah.
That does mean, it has to be said, that vast numbers of the people are reading my reviews without any intention of ever going to the restaurant. I would suggest that 95% of my readers are doing it for vicarious pleasure or displeasure, and have no intention of booking a table. But that's fine. That's what we're there for. I'm there to write entertaining, truthful copy.
And you do have a responsibility. I saw in the paper this week the death of a chef, one of the world's leading chefs. I mean, these guys are passionate, and it is a serious game, and there's a lot of money and responsibility involved, isn't there?
Well, there is. I would have to say, in the old days, I used to do a lot of journalism around mental health issues, and generally people commit suicide because they're suicidal, not in response to somebody's bad review.
No. I certainly wasn't accusing you of that.
No. But it's an interesting question, because when Bernard Loiseau, the Michelin 3-star chef, also killed himself a few years ago, people were saying, it's the stress of reviews, and well, no, it's not. People take their own lives for terrible, terrible reasons, but due to instincts which are suicidal instincts. But you do have to be aware of what you're doing, and I endeavour not to make it utterly personal, but it has to be said, and this is important. As you know, I write books, and my books have been reviewed, and not all my reviews have been positive. Some of them have been negative, some of them have been very negative. And I take that on the chin, so much so that I actually read bits of the most negative reviews of my work during my stage show. So if I'm going to talk about terrible things in restaurants, I think it's only fair that people know about the terrible things that have been said about me. It is a great privilege to be in one of these professions where either you write or you cook.
Yeah.
And you don't get a round of applause, you don't get a clear path just because that's what you've decided to do, especially given the cost of eating out. It's not cheap. £40 a head is very easily spent in this country, and much more as well. And for that sort of money, you deserve to be held to account.
And very finally, before we go then, let's give the tour another plug. You're on the road from the end of February. What website can they go to find out tour dates?
They can go to mine, jayrayner.co.uk. All the details of the live shows are there. Tell you which one's which, where they're going to be, and lots of buttons to buy tickets as well.
I really can't wait to see you in Nottingham. We didn't even get time to discuss facial hair. Can we do that next time? Because we need at least 10 minutes on that.
I'd say it's an hours-long show all by itself, mate.
It's not necessary. Great to talk to you. www.jayrayner.co.uk is the place to find out where you can get tickets for the tour, taking to the road from February 23rd. Great to talk to you, Jay.